We're back with our breaking news. The U.S. military preparing to restart its blockade of Iranian ports in roughly an hour from now. Today, in a major reversal, President Trump says the U.S. will not charge tolls on cargo moving through the Strait of Hormuz. He says he dropped the planned fee after several Gulf nations urged against it, instead offering to invest in the United States. The blockade is getting underway after the U.S. launched another wave of strikes across Iran overnight. Let's discuss these developments with Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado. He's a member of the House Armed Services and Intelligence Committees. Congressman, thanks so much for sharing part of your afternoon with us. So both Trump and the Iranian parliament have declared that the ceasefire is over. Iran is attempting to assert control over traffic in the strait. What do you think the administration should do next?
Well, Boris, it's not a major reversal. It's Donald Trump's daily reversal. I mean, literally, this changes by the day. One time the strait is open. The next day it's closed. One day we're going to charge a toll. The next day we're not. The next day we've signed a peace deal and an MOU. The next day we don't. This is what happens. I mean, who would have guessed? Let's just put it this way. Who would have guessed that getting into another war in the Middle East without a plan, without an end game, without a strategy, without allies, would possibly have ended up like this, right? It is nuts that we are now 6 months into this, have spent over $100 billion. Service members have lost their lives. We've lost our credibility. The Iranian regime is actually more emboldened and has more control over Iran and the Iranian people than they did in February. This is an unmitigated disaster.
So should the U.S. simply walk away? Is that your position? Wouldn't that simply cede control of the strait to Iran?
No, of course that's not my position, right? We have started this. We never should have started this to begin with. Yeah. But now we have to figure out how we extricate ourselves from a terrible situation that we never should have been in. The first step to doing that is creating more options. We have to create more options for us. We have to open more doors. The best way to create options and open doors is to build a coalition and to bring our allies to the table. But the best way to bring our allies to the table is to stop yelling and screaming at them, maligning them, and threatening to take them over. Right? So Donald Trump needs to stop doing damage and digging a hole deeper for us, needs to engage with our allies, bring them to the table, develop a coalition which will enhance options for us, and then we can figure out which of those is the best one to take.
Certain experts that we'd heard from previously, folks that have spent a lot of time working this issue and that have experience at the Pentagon, have made the case that specifically European allies, beyond the ability to remove mines in the strait, are not necessarily equipped to do what's necessary to keep it open. And beyond that, it is a challenge to keep traffic flowing through the strait militarily when it costs a lot less for Iran to use cheap drones and to use these smaller attack boats to sort of ward off anyone that wants to do commercial shipping there. I wonder if you think an effort to keep the strait open, whether through a blockade of Iranian ports or further strikes into Iran, could change the equation.
Well, we have to make a distinction, Boris, when we're talking about tactics versus when we're talking about strategy. It's clear there's no strategy here. Right? This administration is stumbling day to day, week to week, trying to figure out how to handle developments on a 24-hour basis. Now, what you just talked about, control of the straits, that's a tactical question. And what I can tell you without a doubt, and I've been saying this since day one, as have our military commanders, as have every expert who knows anything about this region and how the military works, that there's no way to control the Strait of Hormuz without a significant military presence and significant military operation far beyond anything that we have done so far, right? So Donald Trump saying we're going to control it and charge a toll, how does he propose to do that when Iran, for pennies on the dollar, can hold our Navy at risk, can hold personnel at risk, can hold boots on the ground, which, by the way, we would have to put into the Straits area to hold it, to secure the land around it. He has no plan for any of these things. So it's just talk, it's just bluster. Meanwhile, Americans are paying for it.
In terms of congressional oversight, Congressman, President Trump notified Congress about renewed attacks on July 10th. That triggers the 60-day clock for Congress to either authorize military action or demand that the executive end it. We saw lawmakers approve a few weeks ago a war powers measure before some key Republicans flipped their support for it. Do you think another resolution would have the votes to pass in the next few weeks, in the next 60 days or so?
Well, I'm going to be really clear on an initial point here. And you just talked about the 60-day clock. The 60-day clock only applies and gives the president authority to use military force when there's an imminent threat. If there's no imminent threat, you have to come to Congress. This president and this administration has never shown an imminent threat, never showed the American people and its elected representatives that there was an imminent threat that in the first place required us to go in there. So that's really important to talk about. So let's just stipulate for a minute that there is an imminent threat, and we're here. But now what the president wants America to believe is he's just going to engage in a series of 60-day wars. 60 days, that ends, you recertify it, the clock starts, you do it again. How long does he propose to do that? Because I'm pretty damn sick and tired of 20 years of endless conflict in the Middle East that has cost Americans $5 trillion, over 6,000 American lives, lost time, lost credibility, while my constituents can't afford their homes, can't afford their health care, can't afford the basic necessities of everyday life. Enough is enough.
Congressman, before we go, a key player in any broad strategizing or in any deal moving forward that is durable in the Middle East will be Israel. In the coming days, Congressman Thomas Massey's amendment to effectively cut off U.S. aid to Israel will get a vote in the House. Where do you stand on that?
Well, we're looking at that bill, but I'm going to also be clear about this. The status quo is untenable. Right? The status quo is not a status quo. Things need to change. Our relationship and our terms need to change because right now, what we need to do is have an ally that we can rely on, that will follow the law, that will follow our interests as a nation. And I'm not confident that that's the case right now. And this administration seems to want to give blank checks to Benjamin Netanyahu, and I'm just not interested in continuing that cycle.
Congressman Jason Crow, always appreciate getting your perspective.